What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NumberBet betting podcast, where we go through all the matchups, looking at the SuperContest lines, talk about the sides that we like, the sides that our models like, and the strategy also that you can use in these picks contests to potentially get an edge. You can be contrarian, just like in DFS, where Milo and I were talking about people fading Tebow on FanDuel last week. That is the definition of being contrarian now, isn't it, Milo?
Well, I mean, Taysom Hill at that price was just an automatic slam dunk. And, you're the DFS expert. I'm not. And even I could see that was something that you absolutely had to do. And I ended up playing a lot of chalk last week in terms of betting and in my contest that mimic the Super Contest. And that did not go well for me. I had one of my worst weekends. Believe it or not, the person in first place in my contest went 0-5, and I picked up a game going 1-4. So I got that going for me slightly. But people that were behind me have now all caught up, and I'm still in the top 5 in my contest, but it is not anywhere near where it once was.
That shows you the advantage that you can get in these contests, though, and how you can gain a lot of ground just by fading the popular picks and still picking the sides you like. It's different where you can still be on what you think are good sides and not be on the chalk. So, let's get into this week, a unique week where we've got the Thanksgiving slate where started with 3 games. Now we're down to 2. R.I.P. the Steelers. Are they including that in the they're not including it, right, in the contest?
They are. It's Sunday at 1:15 p.m. start time on NBC, which is kind of bizarre. But yeah, the line is posted. I pulled it from the Westgate numbers, and it's 3.5. It's locked in. It's not going to change, and I'm more than okay with that. And I was kind of surprised that they included it just because the game had moved. But I guess the only times they didn't are when they thought it was going to be moved past Tuesday earlier in the year.
Yeah, I hadn't included that game in this slate, thinking that they just removed it. But adding it right now, seeing what it gets spit out here, and get minus 2.9 without any adjustments. So that's pretty close to what the Super Contest has it at then. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with the games that they actually are playing on Thursday. Let's start with the Detroit Lions at the Texans. I'm sorry, the Lions are at home. It's a 3-point line here. I like the underdogs on Thursday, period. So starting here with the Lions, I think that this should be about 1.5 points.
I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I have it as a pick. So Detroit +3, sign me up. Now, without Golladay, I realize the offense has not been as strong, but assuming Deandre Swift plays tomorrow, I'm in on the Lions, and I think it's the right side in this one. Houston's not good. I mean, just because they beat New England last week, we don't disregard what they've done the past couple weeks. This line is 100% an overreaction of what happened last week with Detroit being shut out, Houston beating New England. So I see value on Detroit. Sign me up tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Houston's been better since the coaching change, I will say. The offense has looked better anyway, but you still just run it down their throat. And that's why you're talking about Swift potentially being key here, where I don't mean to get on this topic again, but the difference between DeAndre Swift and Adrian Peterson is just it's a big difference. Milo and I were just talking about how bad Adrian Peterson is before the show started, unrelated to this. We're talking about DFS. But yeah, I think that Swift could absolutely destroy here. You just give him the ball a bunch, which is what Detroit wants to do, really, especially without Golladay. And I don't think he's going to be stopped. So it looks likely that he's going to be playing. And in DFS, he's going to be chalked. He'll be the second highest owned running back behind Zeke. But I think it sets up really, really well. And I think that Detroit's a live dog. Parlay both of these underdogs, I think. The lines, to win. The money lines.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, obviously, we're going to get to the second game here, and I was slightly surprised what my model said for the second game here. So,
well, you were on the Cowboys last week, and let's transition to that. You liked them to cover, and they actually won outright. So looked pretty good. Of course, Andy Dalton back under center, I think, is a big improvement for them. I think that they will look quite a bit better. They made a change to their offensive line, moving their left guard to right tackle, and made some adjustments there that we'll see if that ends up working out longer term. But it certainly patched things up for a week or so. And my thing is, I just think Washington's a lot better with Alex Smith. They won last week, and it's weird to say because I'm not like a stan of Alex Smith or anything, but give me Washington here. Again, another situation where you've got a 3-point line. The SuperContest has it at 2.5, but I still like the value on Washington.
It's funny. I plugged this into my model, and it shoots out Washington -3. It basically says that they should be favored in this game, which gives me a massive difference of almost 5.5 points from the SuperContest line, and then 6 from what it currently is. And how can I not like Washington in that spot then? The defensive line of Washington is a problem. Andy Dalton looked great last week. Why? He was pretty much untouched for the most part. Minnesota didn't get a ton of pressure. He was able to stand back there. They could run the ball. Everything looked like it was supposed to for Dallas. It's going to be a little bit different this week. Washington continues to get pressure, even on the revamped Dallas offensive line. And I think you might see a little bit of a surprise. And I know there's some people that have a theory that Washington could easily win this division because anyone could win this division. And I agree with you again. I like the dog here. I didn't think I would, but once I see the model numbers and the confidence level of the model, it seems that that's the angle I should be playing, and that's where I should be. So dog 1 and dog 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a weird situation too, where it's I can buy into the improvement of the Cowboys also. I'm higher on the Washington football team improving and the Cowboys improving. You just got to pick one of the sides, and I do lean towards the Washington side. But I could see betting Dallas again in the coming weeks here. This isn't like a knock on Dallas or anything that I've got. So, all right, let's keep moving. Then we've got what do we have next? The Raiders and the Falcons. Let's go with that one. This one could be a shootout. We've got a couple defenses that can be taken advantage of, I think. The Raiders are favorites in this one. Raiders coming off a impressive loss, I guess you could say, against the Chiefs, a game that they probably should have won. Pretty close to winning. So what do you think here, man? I know you have had you've admitted that the Raiders have been a bit of a challenge for you to try and measure.
Yeah, I just don't really think they're as good as they have been. And it's, last week's performance, again, I have to rethink this because they obviously belong. They're going to be a playoff team the way things are trending. But this definitely feels like an absolute trap spot. I mean, Atlanta looked terrible last week. Ridley and Julio are questionable, and they're begging you to take the Raiders in this spot. Who in their right mind, outside of professionals, is going to look at this and say, oh, I watched the games last week. Sign me up for some Atlanta. No one is going to think that. So I can't do it. My model has this as what should be the Raiders minus a couple more, -5. So my model says it should be a little bit bigger, and I cannot do it. I don't care what it says. This is an absolute trap game, and until I see John Gruden's team go on the road, play a 1 p.m. game coming from West Coast, after playing Sunday night, I am not going to do it. I'm going to pass this one.
That's fair. My model's on the opposite side. I guess 1.5 is what I have the line at. So a little bit of value if you wanted to take the Falcons here for all the reasons that Milo said that he's nervous to bet the Raiders. When his model has the Raiders as the bet here. So I don't mind it, but I'm with you. I don't feel like this is a game that I have to bet or anything. I'm cool with avoiding it, especially until we get some news on the injuries and can confirm that Ridley and Julio are in. Like, if you get that sort of news, then again, you can back the Atlanta side here a little more confidently. For now, though, I wouldn't have a strong enough opinion to choose a side. Let's move on to, and for the record, my model has Julio and Ridley in. That's what it would be if they were in. Let's move on to the Arizona-New England game. actually, no, let's do this one first. Let's go to the Bengals and the Giants, because this one's interesting to me, where based on what I'm looking at, I think Vegas has Burrow valued at a touchdown at 7 points. That's higher than I had Burrow valued at. I had him at 5.5. So just based on that, that would suggest that I would want to be on the Bengals side here. I don't feel the need to do it though, man. Like again, I'm not super confident that Burrow's 5 points instead of 7 points. And man, like Brandon Allen, like that's the difference we're talking about. That's the replacement. I don't feel confident that the Giants looked better last week as well. So they gained a point of value, while the Bengals lost a point of value in addition to the quarterback loss. So where do you stand on this one, man? This one's intriguing to me. This is an interesting one to talk about.
Man, this entire game and line, it like you kind of said, it almost doesn't make any sense to me. Plugging everything in and not factoring in for injury, I had Giants -1. So like you said, even if you factor in for injury, are we really going to say that it should be 6? That just feels like way too much and pretty much an overreaction. Now, the other part of this is that Burrow has obviously been the key to keeping them in games, to them scoring points, moving up and down. And with him out, that offense became a 0, basically the rest of last Sunday. I don't know what to expect out of Brandon Allen. I have no idea. Just my assumption is if you're the practice squad quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, you're probably not that good and prepared to play behind an offensive line that we know is horrid. The Giants' defense has been much better. Obviously, then my model is going to lean towards Cincinnati just because of the situation. But there is no way I am playing Cincinnati, and there's no way I'm playing the Giants at this spot. It just feels too weird, too bizarre, and too off for me. I know that maybe you can make an argument that the Giants are the right side here because of how bad Cincinnati has been. But am I really going to back a bunch of NFC East teams this week? I don't think you're going to get rich doing that the way the season has broken down.
Yeah, it's a tough one because ultimately I'm probably not going to bet it and just avoid it because, like I said, I'm not super confident in valuing Joe Burrow versus Brandon Allen. But it would seem kind of a tough spot too. You've got the angle of the Giants being pretty decent at creating pressure for being a below average defense overall. And I don't like that for quarterbacks that are inexperienced or backups or below average, that sort of thing. I don't like there being a lot of pressure on the guy, or defenses like Miami I've talked about, they just disguise stuff and try to confuse you. I would rather just play a defense as straight up, of course, and doesn't create a lot of pressure. I mean, that's a situation where I'd feel a lot more confident in backing an unknown quarterback or below average quarterback, backup quarterback, that sort of thing. So I'm going to stay away. So is that your final call here too? Just avoid, or what?
100%. Just avoid this.
All right. Let's move on to the Patriots and the Cardinals then. This line is 2.5 here. The Cardinals are a team that I'm keeping an eye on for reasons I just tweeted out about and I talked to Milo about in the Slack channel that the seventh team in the NFC, it's going to be them or the Bears, I think. And there's a decent chance the Bears are pretty undervalued to win the NFC at 100-1. I don't think Bears are going to win the NFC or anything, but I think it's better than a 1% chance that they will. So where do you stand here, man, with the Cardinals and valuing them versus the Patriots, who Patriots remain one of the toughest teams to handicap overall. I think they're very volatile with their results.
So if there wasn't a monsoon 2 weeks ago and they were to fortunately beat the Ravens, we are probably looking at this Patriots team in a completely different light. We are thinking that the wheels have come off. It looks horrid. They can't score. They can't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass last week. And they really struggled with a mobile quarterback last week. Well, welcome to Kyler Murray. So that is going to be a big-time problem for them. My model has us at Arizona -6. Obviously, that is a pretty big discrepancy. The confidence level is pretty high. This is an auto bet for me based upon where my model has it. But I've said this before, I'm so scared about betting against New England in New England, and I have to keep reminding myself, this is not New England. This is not New England. This is not the same team it has been. I'm going to trust everything. I'm going to say the mini bye that Arizona had coming off of playing the Thursday game, and I will be on the Cardinals sheepishly because it is the Patriots.
Yeah, okay, I get that. I will mention too, like Murray is in practice right now with his shoulder injury, so be careful with that. And if you're submitting your picks early because you have to get him in by the Thanksgiving game, maybe one to avoid. But it's like it seems likely Murray's going to play based on the fact that the line is available right now to be bet on. If there was more doubt that he would be playing, you wouldn't see that line there available to be bet. I don't really see that much of desire to bet here. I have the edge being on the Patriots side. I have the line at plus half a point, but they're too volatile for me. I just, like you said, you made good points for why they could be overvalued by perception wise right now. And it could be a lot uglier if things had broken a little bit different with maybe the weather game and everything. And it's like every other game they cover. That's basically what they've been doing. And I'm going to avoid this one for now. So I will be rooting for the Patriots, though, because I do want to bet those Bears at 100 to 1 or better to potentially get up a bit higher after they lose to the Packers, as you pointed out. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a void for me. But interesting that you've got a strong case on this for the auto bet, huh?
I mean, it's just more about where my model is, and I am, I'm afraid of New England. But the reality is they could have easily lost to the Jets. They won because of the monsoon. Then they basically got blown out last week they kind of made a comeback late, but it's just not there. I mean, there's another thing that just seems to be missing. Rex Burkhead now goes out. And if they get behind, what is it, just going to be James White all day back there? There's just a lack of weapons. I mean, you could say, Jacoby Myers this and Demir Bird. Okay, those guys are all right, but there aren't any weapons. Cam just hasn't been able to get it done, whether he's hurt, whether he's washed, whatever it happens to be. This New England team is not the same. They'll definitely be a little undervalued when the offseason hits and someone I might look at for futures next year. But until that time, I think the shine has definitely worn off of me worrying as much as I used to about betting against New England.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the Jaguars and the Browns. Jaguars are at home. 6.5 point line here per the SuperContest. I have it at 7.8 is what my model spit out, but I didn't adjust for Mike Glennon being the quarterback now, which you pointed out before we started the pod. Give me your thoughts on that situation, how much that affects the line. I imagine it's not more than a point or so, right?
I really can't think it makes that much of a difference. I mean, we're talking about people that are terrible. This isn't exactly Drew Lock, right? So no matter what, it's not that much of a difference. It's not going to do anything for me. I have this, according to model, of 5.5. So there's a slight lean for Jacksonville, but that's even with the adjustment at quarterback. And there's no way I could play Jacksonville in this game, even though it kind of feels like it's the right side. But Cleveland has been very smart about this. They're going to run the ball 45 times, maybe more. Try to keep Baker under 25 to 30 pass attempts if they can. They're all going to be play actions. They're all going to be bootlegs, some simple things that he can't really hurt them as much. And you're going to see probably both Cleveland backs have nice days because Jacksonville's kind of struggled. Even the Steelers ran the ball on them last week. And, the Steelers aren't exactly a running powerhouse. So Jacksonville feels like it should be the right side, but there's absolutely no way I feel comfortable playing them. So this game's just going to be a pass for me.
Yeah, the problem is beating Jacksonville, you've been better off passing, right? I mean, not that I'm with you. I don't think Cleveland's going to deviate from their game plan, their usual game plan here and go super pass heavy or anything, but that's been the easier path against Jacksonville. I would lean towards the Jacksonville side here, the value there, but it's so ugly, man. Again, another game that you just I'm cool with passing on it. I do like in these situations of getting like that many points, where I think, okay, well, see both teams being pretty bad here. Like Cleveland has got a great record and everything, but they're not. I don't know. They're pretty bad sometimes, man.
Mm-hmm.
And against the spread, they have a losing record too. Both these teams are 4-6 against the spread. So relative to expectations, Cleveland has been bad. It's just their overall records. You look at a 7-3 team versus a 1-9 team. You would assume there's a big advantage towards the 7-3 team. I'm not convinced. I could see this game being close, back and forth, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm gonna pass on this one. I'm not. I'm gonna make the Jaguars like one of my top picks here. No, thank you. With Mike Glennon. Oh, gross. Let's go to the Vikings and the Panthers. This it looks like we're getting Bridgewater back. He's expected to start. Line is 3.5 here. Do you have an edge in this game? It looks, and Thielen, I guess, is worth mentioning. He's on the COVID list, so I don't think he's going to be playing. What did you watch that game? What did you think about PJ Walker, the backup quarterback there? And is Teddy needed in this one?
Teddy is 100% needed. That game against Detroit could have been like 45-0 if he doesn't turn the ball over. I want to say his second turnover, he threw like a fade in the back corner of the end zone where there were just 3 Lions there. There wasn't even a receiver on one of them. And I was thinking, like, what was he even seeing? What was he possibly coming up with? But that's how bad Detroit was. Didn't really make a difference. This is an absolute – yeah, he was bad. This is an absolutely perfect get-right spot for Minnesota. You can run the ball in Carolina, which is part of the reason some people wanted to play Adrian Peterson last weekend in daily fantasy, despite other people attempting to talk them off of it. So in that case, give me all the Minnesota here. My model has us at only Minnesota -1, so there's a lean to Carolina, but I don't care. I'm more than happy to kind of zigzag here with Minnesota, going against them last week, jumping on them this week. It certainly feels like a spot Dalvin Cook's going to touch the ball, 28, 30 times. And I would prefer, obviously, that Thielen plays, but I don't think if he tested positive or it was like a contract or contact tracing type deal. So I don't know. I haven't heard an update at this point. And obviously, it's a little bit earlier in the week, and there's still some time for him to clear the protocols. But give me Minnesota. I like the Vikings in the spot.
I like the Vikings as well. And to be clear, I don't want people to think negatively of me here. I was on the side of not playing Adrian Peterson.
What are you trying to say about me? You're right, though.
To kick Milo and some other people out of slack for entertaining the idea of playing Adrian Peterson, but that's another topic. Yeah, I think the Vikings are the right side. And Walker, oh man, Walker looked horrible. In my article, on my rundown, my update, once they announced the starter, my analysis was, please don't play PJ Walker. I think is all I said. It's just no, that's a bad play. So yeah, the Vikings are the way to go. I think there's about a point and a half of value here. I could see this game turning into a shootout, but I don't know that that's necessarily the way you want it to go. Like, I think the correlated bet is to the under if you're betting the Vikings, because you just want them to run this out, and with Carolina trying to pass catch up, you don't want efficiency there. So I would lean the Vikings and the under here. And would feel pretty good, too, about that money line of, like, what, -180, -190 there. I think that's if you're deep into a survivor league and need a pick this week, this is a little better than your typical 3.5 point favorite, right?
I mean, I would think so. The only thing I would caution is I know that Christian McCaffrey had a red shirt on in practice, so he was non-contact. But, if he comes back, I do think the shootout potential goes through the roof in this game. Mm-hmm. As you said, but in terms for us, definitely Minnesota. I could see a Minnesota money line. I could see a Minnesota money line parlay with some other bigger favorites. You throw them in with Green Bay. All of a sudden, you're paying. You're probably getting plus money in that spot or pretty close to it. So, all these things you have options as a bettor, and don't just be kind of stuck with just the contest. You can do some creative things. There's some ways to get profitable throughout the season and some spots that definitely stand out.
Yeah, I'm looking through my updates here. I'm pretty sure I saw that they weren't thinking that McCaffrey's going to play. but maybe I wrote that off too easy. Matt Rule says he expects Bridgewater to play, but not McCaffrey. So head coach thinks McCaffrey's not going to play, but I guess it's not 100% certain. He hasn't ruled him out yet or anything. I would agree with you, though. That would change things. I would be less on the under with the Vikings in that correlation. All right, let's go to the next game here. We've got the Colts and the Titans. This one is a line of 3 towards the Colts. And I don't know, man. Like the Colts are one of those teams that are tough to believe in completely because I'm so low on Phillip Rivers, for one. Like that's been a thing where it's just like I don't buy into him. The running back carousel is kind of been a mess. I mean, Hines has looked the best out of those 3 guys that they have left right now, and the receivers are just horrible. Pittman is good, and I think he's going to be a good receiver. But like the fact that T.Y. Hilton is arguably your number 1 receiver, I would say Pittman is, but that's ugly. Your tight ends are Mo Alley Cox, who's done okay, and Burton and Doyle. I don't get it, man. This defense must be absolutely elite. And sure, they're top 5 in a lot of categories that I value.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. And some of us have been betting Pittman over on receptions and yards the past 2 weeks and done pretty well with that. As the targets continue to climb, and the weird thing about the Colts is just their offense is so strange. 3 tight ends they rotate, 3 running backs they rotate, a plethora of wide receivers they rotate. You're thinking, what is happening? There is no like fantasy star. There's no guy. And I think that kind of tends to lead people in our fantasy-centric lives of how everybody kind of watches the microscope of the NFL now as they're not that good because they don't have a fantasy guy. The reality is the defense is elite. The offensive line is very, very good too. And that definitely makes things difficult. This game was played a couple weeks ago, and Indy made Tennessee look stupid. And it all kind of hinged on 2 special teams plays. There was a bad punt, then a block punt back-to-back. And then after that, it was an Indy rout. And I don't know what to do with this game. And I don't know what to do with the Colts as a whole. My model has us at Indy -3, so there's no lean, no value of any kind. And I kind of tend to agree. This just feels like a second time through in a division matchup. Both teams absolutely need to win if they're going to try to make the playoffs, even though it kind of looks like the Colts might just be the best team in that division. But, man, I don't like it. I don't want to be a part of it, and I definitely don't want to have to pick this game or bet it. I mean, in some of my picks leagues, I have to pick every game, so I guess I kind of lean Indy, but no confidence in any way, shape, or form in this one.
So I lean Tennessee, but with you on the confidence level of it being really low. I have the line at -2.3, so that doesn't sound like that much, right? It's 0.7, a point there. But when you're flirting around with that 3, can make a difference, and that can be kind of critical. So, like, if you had to pick a side, I would go with Tennessee personally, but it sounds like neither of us have much confidence in this one. That's fine. Let's go to the next game. 2 interesting teams. 2 teams that I, just not looking at the model or anything before running the model, just seeing the matchup, I would have thought that this would have been a little tighter projected by Vegas. The Bills and the Chargers. With the Bills at home here, this is a 5.5-point spread. Is the luster of the Chargers, is that kind of worn off a little bit with Herbert last week or 2 weeks ago kind of looking not that great? And I mean, last week you could kind of say some similar things, so not as bad as 2 weeks ago, but I don't know. Is everyone jumping off the Chargers bandwagon?
I think they're jumping off. I don't think it has anything to do with the offense. I think the defense is kind of, I don't want to say falling off a cliff, but something has happened there. It's not the same. This defense was supposed to be pretty solid. They were going to slow people down, and they've definitely had issues. I mean, the Jets kind of moved the ball up and down the field a little bit. I know that the end of that game kind of had some weird things happen for people to maybe cover, not cover, depending upon where you had the line with the safety and whatnot. But I saw this line, and I thought, this seems too big. On purpose. It's almost like they're saying, oh, you want to play the Chargers? Well, here you go. You can take your West Coast team coming up to Buffalo where it's 40 degrees and it might be a little bit chilly. So go ahead, do that. Take your West Coast team. Do that coming up into Buffalo. And I just was thinking, Buffalo's coming off a bye. I'm assuming John Brown is back and healthy. That offense is better with John Brown. They're going to have no problems moving the ball. And the Buffalo defense has been, let's just say they have one solid corner, and I think the Chargers have one really good wide receiver. So I think this matches up pretty well for Buffalo. My model has it at exactly 5.5, but I'm definitely leaning Buffalo.
Man, yeah, I guess.
Wow, so much confidence.
But I mean, yeah, it makes sense. My line is 6.7, so it makes sense to play Buffalo. My argument is, I mean, I'm a biased, soft California guy, so like I'm the Chargers in this situation where all these East Coast guys are like, "Oh man, it gets cold. You guys don't know what to do." That's a little bit overblown. My main thing here is Eckler. I think Eckler is going to play this week, and I think that that's going to be a huge deal for them because, I mean, like you said, like the offense is done well. Like last week, especially by the numbers last week against the Jets, everyone did fine. Herbert had like 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards. Numbers look really good. But you're talking about they're on Kalen Ballage right now as their starting running back who wasn't with the team, a month ago. And they were using Pope, their special teams running back at one point. They've got – the funny thing is the guy they drafted, Kelly's been pretty healthy, but they're just looking for any excuse to not play him. Like they will not play him. That's how bad he is. Like if you have Joshua Kelly in a dynasty league, get anything you can for that guy. I mean, take a 4th-round rookie pick. He looks – or just what the team thinks of him anyway. It doesn't look good. But anyway, Eckler, I think, adds actually point value to this team, which is a hot take to say about a running back. You know, you could say that about maybe Christian McCaffrey, maybe Saquon Barkley. And, I mean, you could make an argument for maybe one other guy or something. But I think there's a chance Eckler adds some point value here, and that's where I'm going to disagree with my model because my model isn't giving any point value to Eckler. And I'm the biased Chargers guy that's potentially thinking about taking the Chargers here. In a situation, though, we're actually getting points as opposed to, like, last week I was nervous about taking the Chargers because it's like, man, are they really going to be able to win by that many? Now it's like, all right, can they keep it close? Yeah, like, that's what they do. That's what the Chargers will keep it close. Don't have to worry about that, right? So I'm just looking at the overall spread here, and the stylistically what we've seen from the Chargers. I think that they'll be able to keep it close. I think this game comes down to the last drive.
Oh, I mean, wouldn't it just be so poetic if the Chargers were up by 1 and Buffalo went down and scored a touchdown and turned around and won by 6 and covered by a half point? I mean, that's kind of exactly what the Chargers season has been, the way they've been competitive in just about pretty much every game except for maybe in Miami a couple weeks ago. But again, Chargers future, yes, but I can't do it this week. I didn't realize that Eckler was that. I knew he was close. I didn't know he was that close that like he's going to activate him and play him this week, and that would definitely change my opinion. And I would probably go from leaning Buffalo and thinking about betting them to probably staying away at that point.
The situation you just described, that can't happen. They would win by 5 or by 7. They wouldn't win by 6. They're going to go for 2 in that situation, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. But, of course, though, then it would 100% be 7 because they just can't be good with the points and they have to lose somehow in some horrible fashion. Every time I've been on the Chargers, I think after like the first 2 or 3 weeks, I lost horribly in some bad way. And when I've gone against them, it's been okay. So, I went against them when they were in Miami. I was on the Jets last week, believe it or not. So, I have no problems here with Buffalo. But I understand what you're saying about Eckler, and that definitely changes my opinion of it.
Yeah. So this is mainly a gut/heart play, I guess. I've been pretty high in the Chargers this season overall, more so early in the season to pat myself on the back a little bit. But yeah, I'm considering them here as one of my bets that I'm going to give out at the end of the show here. Let's move on. Keep it rolling. Let's talk about the Jets and the Dolphins. This is let's see, a 6.5 point spread here. Wow, is that 6.5 points here? Tua has got an injured thumb, got pulled from the last game. I don't think it ever got declared whether it was because of injury or not. But they did say he's going to be starting this week, assuming that thumb injury clears and all that. But he looked really bad. Like I'll fully admit that, being a huge Tua fan, and you would think that they would actually have a better chance if Tua sits with the thumb injury and Fitzpatrick comes in and starts. Right? Is that too overboard, or do you think that the Dolphins still have a better chance with Tua back there?
I'll tell you what, them benching him, yanking him getting hurt, or whatever you want to call it last week, is the most bizarre coaching decision I have seen in a little while. They made the switch to give him the reps to prepare him, and he's going to take lumps. They knew that. But then to turn around and yank him made absolute zero sense. Having said all that, I kind of like Miami this week no matter who the quarterback is. I don't think it makes a difference. The Jets are bad. Even if Darnold comes back, it's more of a bet on the Miami defense, which honestly kept them in the game last week despite being run all over by the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock did not beat them. Our least favorite quarterback in the NFL, Drew Lock, did not hurt me and have me lose a bet. So in this case, I have to be on the Dolphins. My model has this as Miami minus 12, which it almost broke it because of how different it is. But again, that's because of the DVOA of Miami. And I think this is the week that Football Outsiders starts to kind of weight the last 5 or 6 weeks more than the first couple of weeks, whenever they kind of factor everything in. I don't remember when they do that, but they change it up a little bit, and there's a little bit more of a weight as you get later into the season. For what you have done recently. And some of that is factoring in injuries and different situations. But in this case, I normal year, you give me a home dog getting 6 with a team from Florida coming up north, kind of the same argument as the Chargers. And I'd be like, ooh, let's go. But the Jets are attempting to get the number 1 pick. That is 100% clear. Their decisions are like that. Every week, someone else goes on injured reserve. So it's just a continuation. And Miami can really make the playoffs and has a chance here. And I understand that this is a big number to ask them to cover on the road, and it might be a little bit scary, but I'm going to be on Miami. I know. Tell me I'm wrong. It's okay. I'm waiting for you to.
Well, I'll start with there's no way that Gase is trying to lose games right now, right? Like, his job depends on winning.
I don't think he is trying to lose games on purpose. I think some of their personnel decisions of this person's a little bit bumped up, you're going to IR. This person's a little bit hurt, you're going to IR. And they're making things a little bit more difficult. Now, he's pretty much well aware that he's getting fired. And Joe Flacco is obviously playing for his next contract, I would assume, if he actually believes there is one. But, yeah, it feels like the organization has a clear plan, and none of the people that are currently on the field or participating coaching are part of that plan.
So I have the line at 0 right now with, no value right now, same line as what's posted with Flacco in there. But I do think that Darnold adds a couple points of value, at least 2-3 points. So if Darnold, who's questionable right now, they're not sure if he's going to play, gets cleared to go, I'm taking the Jets in this. I would take the Jets. I think that line could potentially move a little bit towards the Jet side just because Flacco's so bad, man. It's not like I think that Darnold is great, or I'm not even convinced he's average, but Flacco's bad, very bad. And yeah, that would give me a little more confidence. I'm very much a supporter of this Miami team and the talent on the team and everything, but that's still a good amount of points there for a team. Like you say, you point out the soft, hot weather team going to cold weather. There you go, man.
Us Northeastern people, we think we're tough. We think we're better than everybody. We're used to the tough weather. We can handle it.
The difference is, it's just jackets. That's all. I didn't own a jacket till I moved to Nashville. So it's like, yeah, I was cold the first time I went to Nashville. I didn't have a jacket. That's all. When there's you don't have a jacket at all? It's California, you have sweatshirts. And you go out at night sometimes. You usually just bring your sweatshirt with you. You have a sweatshirt in the car or whatever. Sometimes you need it. Usually you don't. That's the only difference. You guys aren't any tougher at all. You just have jackets.
Jackets. We have parkas. We have hats. We have coats. It gets real cold. It's actually not that bad though. It's like 45 every day, which is seasonably fine considering things for me here.
I never worn a scarf till I went to New York, and I was like, God, everyone's got a scarf on. I guess I better go buy a scarf. But yeah, it's just that's all.
You don't strike me as a scarf guy, even if you had to wear one.
Nope, I think I wore one once in my life. It was in New York, and to try and keep warm there. But that was about it. That pretty much is buried in the closet somewhere. All right, let's move to the Broncos and the Saints. So this was one of the games that we differed on a little bit, but in fairness, we were analyzing the wrong starting quarterback. We thought for sure it was going to be Jameis, just like everyone else thought. I heard on a podcast someone saying, yeah, like it's definitely Jameis, and I'm sure I was I didn't listen to the podcast back, but I'm sure that I was very confident in saying it's going to be Jameis. It wasn't. Just Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill came in and did really well. Like in the first half, I'm going, all right, this could get ugly. It's not to the point where like he's gonna get replaced for Jameis or anything, but yeah, I think that there's a chance that it could get ugly in the third here. I don't know, man. I came out of the second half and just dominated, looked really good, rushed really well, but also passed really well, hit all his passing props. Joe was the guy that hit all his passing props in our Slack and was touting those. And where do you stand on the Saints now that we're analyzing Taysom Hill instead of Jameis?
I mean, did anybody have Michael Thomas having his best game of the year fantasy-wise with Taysom Hill at quarterback? That's what happened. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here. They adjusted, and he, especially at times, looked questionable. He underthrew a bunch of passes. He made some mistakes, as you would expect someone who's making their first career NFL start. Those are normal things. There's going to be some nerves. There's going to be some jitters. He's going to have some reads that are just going to be wrong. But, Sean Payton definitely played to his strengths. A lot of design runs, a lot of times that he broke out quick, some quicker throws, let him throw the deep ball a little bit too, everything you would expect. This game is very, very strange to me. Denver feels like the absolute right side here. You would want to take, after a massive win, a young quarterback in his second ever start going on the road, a dome team coming outside, all the cliche things you would expect. But conversely, my model says that the Saints should be double-digit favors in this one and really leans to them. And so I'm kind of torn with what to do. I basically have sworn off Drew Lock. When I've been on him, he has been terrible. When I've gone against him, he's actually made me look stupid. So I don't know what to do. I might just have to put the Denver Broncos in the do not touch this team under any circumstances category. And this game very well so might be that, even though I'm pretty sure Denver's the right side. I don't think I can actually physically do it, though.
Yeah, so to be clear, like I had all that lead up, that build up there and didn't really reference the line, but it is 6 that the Saints are favored by. I have it at 8. You say you have it at 10 plus, but you still lean the Denver side. I would lean the Saints side, but wouldn't feel confident in it. Don't know what to expect from Taysom Hill next week. It's not like I watched last week and went, oh yeah, he's the guy. Like he deserves a starting job somewhere next week. Like not at all. My takeaway from last week's game, it was like, all right, like he did enough to get another start. Cool. Let's see what happens. But heading into this next week, very skeptical that we're going to see as much success. And this is a good defense too. Denver is a good defense with a head coach that was one of the best defensive coordinators in Vic Fangio that I think can dial up some things here to confuse and put pressure on an inexperienced quarterback, right? We talked about earlier, I think it was the Brandon Allen thing, right, with the Bengals. Just I don't want to be facing defenses that can create pressure and confusion and those sort of things. So I'm not going to be backing the Saints, even though I do show 2 points of value, which is among as good of a value as you're going to get from me. I ignore everything at 4 points plus, and my best bets are around 2-3 points. So unique situation here. This is 1-2 where we saw the Broncos confuse Tua last week, right? We're talking about Tua struggling. That was against the Broncos defense. So be careful with this. I think the Saints are the right side. Sounds like you have a little bit of lean towards the Broncos, but I don't feel confident. So are the Broncos, did you say they're in consideration for you in your top 5 or so?
No, I can't do it. I mean, anytime the model says one thing and I think another, I'm just going to try to stay away. And this is the benefit of having, an entire full slate now. We're back to the bye weeks are done. We have more games to pick from. And so it's easier to kind of dump some of these games, and I'll be dumping this one for sure.
Oh, are the bye weeks totally done? I guess I didn't even notice that and put that all together. But yeah, okay. That's cool.
I mean, I assume they're totally done. We have 16 games this weekend, so they don't come back, right? Like, I'm not losing my mind.
Unless that's just Thanksgiving. No, yeah, I think there's another bye week next week. I'm pretty sure. I think it's like Carolina, right? Because I want to say that came into the decision for best ball and stuff. But I could have that wrong.
I'll pull it up while you get the next game ready and double check.
Sure, yeah. So, the next one is probably my favorite bet of the week. We've got the Rams at the 49ers. And so this line is -7 towards the Rams being favored. I think that everyone's undervaluing the Niners. I know it's looked ugly the last few weeks where they've just been destroyed by really good teams. At least at the very least, the teams expect to be in playoffs, right? With the Packers and the Seahawks, and there's I don't remember the third team there, but they've been losing by like 2 touchdowns to these teams. And Jimmy's out, and they've lost all their weapons. Kittle's out. They get Mostert back, and they get Jeff Wilson back. That'll help. And I think that these games that they've been losing by huge margins, we're going to see a lot closer games from them. That the defense will still be able to do things a lot of the times to be able to limit some of these offenses, especially offense like the Rams, which I think they do some things well, but they're not an offense that I'm worried about, like like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Like, we're dealing with Jared Goff, and Goff is about as average as it gets, in my opinion. So I think there's some value in the Niners here being able to get a full touchdown. I think this game will be close, and I'm not even set on the Rams being the team that win this game.
First, I want to say you're correct about the buys. Next week, Tampa Bay and Carolina have buys. Just 2 teams, and then we're done. Yeah. So that's kind of an odd thing. Second thing I want to mention is you are 100% on the correct side of this. I love the Niners in this spot. The Rams coming off of 2 straight massive wins, and this is a great opportunity to have them come out a little sluggish, maybe a little bit slow after their big wins and kind of celebrating them. San Francisco is getting some people back, as you said, and it just feels like it's a point too many. This kind of feels like a 3-point game to me. My model has this at 4.5, so there is a lean towards San Francisco. Not quite in the confidence level to be an auto bet, but one of the games that whenever I first looked through, it just felt like it was a couple points too big. And I'll continue to be on San Francisco because there is value there, and there has been. It doesn't always work out, but definitely the correct side here is the Niners.
Yeah, I mean, the line's 7. I bet 4.9 is what it should be at, I think. But
same boat, 4.5. I'm right about with you.
Yeah, I see Vegas. It's dropped a little bit to 6.5. So the lifeline, and again, key number 7. That's a big number for it to switch to 6.5. And yeah, this is going to be absolutely one of my bets I mentioned at the end of the pod here, to take San Francisco 7 point. That's too many. That's a really good bet. I'll be betting this as well, potentially. That's too much value. Let's go to the next game. Let's talk about the Bucs, a team that's broken your model before, going up against the Chiefs. The Bucs are at home. This is a 3.5-point spread. Of course, the Bucs being home underdogs here. The Chiefs are the Vegas favorite to win the Super Bowl. They are clearly the best team in the league, I think. And I'm always wanting to back them. I think both you and I took them last week, though, and they didn't cover. So are we overvaluing how much they're gonna win some of these games by?
The offense is fantastic. I think the defense was not great. Lack of a pass rush can be a problem, no matter who it's against. If you're going to make the Raiders look pretty good offensively, which, they're okay. This is a fantastic spot to be on the Tampa Bay Bucs. I don't like it because of how bad Brady has looked recently, but getting more than a field goal, oh man, it just feels like the right side here is Tampa Bay. It seems so gross to say that because of what they've looked at times. I'm not ready to buy into this whole Tom Brady's bad at night because he normally goes to bed at 8:30 p.m. thing that I've heard. That just seems like some overblown nonsense. But I think it's more about the fact that they are actually playing good teams in those primetime games with have real defenses. But anytime they have been against a team that doesn't have a good defense, he's had no problems. Even whenever they played Green Bay, who many people think is pretty good. No issues there, obviously, and that was a game we were on the correct side of. It's scary. It would help my Steelers too, but I will be on Tampa Bay as long as we're above 3.5, which we are in the contest. Now, in terms of betting real money, maybe different, especially if the line dips.
Well, it has dipped the half point, so lose the hook there, and at least I think I'm looking at pulling from Pinnacle right now. So
that's exactly why I mentioned it.
Yeah, I do think that's significant. I mean, and that's what makes this me hesitate on liking the Chiefs. The fact that the market is moving this line the other direction, but I have it at 4.5 towards the Chiefs, so less than a point value there. And something that I'm aware of, like it's possible that I could be overvaluing how many points the Chiefs are going to win by. That's something I'm kind of keeping an eye on. So I'm going to avoid this. I think the Chiefs are the side I would bet if I had to pick, but I'm cool with moving on and going with a different game. Let's go to the Packers and the Bears. So this one matters to me because of, like I said, that Bears future bet, which is a total long shot. Definitely don't put much money on it, but consider betting the Bears to win the NFC. The Packers are 9.5 point favorites here. My model has it at 7.5, so I would be on the Bears. I'm expecting Trubisky to start. He practiced I believe in full today. Of course, Nick Foles is injured, not practicing. And if they go with, I don't even know who the backup is behind Trubisky, then that would change my opinion. But if Trubisky's good to go, and it's weird to have him as a caveat, but I'll take the Bears if Trubisky's in.
You mean you don't want to invest in Tyler Bray, who came in for like 4 snaps in that horrible Minnesota game a couple weeks ago?
No.
That seems so terrible. No. In this one, kind of the same boat as you. I have the model, has it at 6.5, so there is a lean towards Chicago. And I need more clarity before I could do anything. Green Bay coming off a loss, though, there definitely is some blowout potential, but the Chicago defense, they don't quit. They keep coming. They get pressure. They do everything right. It's just that the offense is so bad. I mean, just think about that Minnesota game a couple weeks ago. They had a kickoff return and I think held their opponents to 17 points or 19 points and lost. You hold your opponents to 19 points and you have a kickoff return and you lose the game? How is that even possible? In this day and age of the NFL, your quarterback has to be horrendous. And here we are. And
and I think it's mostly offensive line. Think about, too, that Cordero Patterson as their starting running back. It's not just the quarterback, but I think it's that offensive line is their biggest issue.
I mean, there's obviously plenty of problems with that team and that offense, and I can't do it. I mean, I understand there's a lean on Chicago in the model. It just – is there any point in time you feel comfortable with that? Like I said, I was more comfortable taking the Jets and the Cowboys last week than I am in taking Chicago this week. If you told me Rodgers threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, I'd just be like, okay, the Bears lost by like 100. Or Rodgers could throw for 220 and 2 touchdowns, and the Bears could still lose by 100 because they just might not be able to score. So I'm out on this one.
Yeah, but I mean, so say what you will about the Minnesota game. Of course, there are plenty of bad things to say about the Bears, but like they had a shot till the end, right? I mean, their defense kept them in it that well. A lot of these games they're losing. Most of the games they're losing are single possession games, and I think a lot of the single possession games, like the losing by a touchdown or less, comes down to variance. And we've seen that from the Chargers side of things, right? Some of it has to do with coaching. Some of it does, of course, come down to talent. But we're not seeing them get killed. And I'm encouraged by that. I just think that this game, again, can be close, that it can come down to the last score. I think they're don't have a great shot to be live to win. I don't think they're a live underdog, but all I need is a touchdown. This would come down to the last possession. That's almost all of their games do.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I can't do it. You know, with this Bears team, how many quarterbacks, if you threw into that Chicago situation and they just had someone that was just a C+ at quarterback, what's their record? I mean, they're definitely making the playoffs if they have just even something, because they're getting like a D or worse out of these guys the past couple of weeks. But, you know, again, these are teams that next year when you're thinking who's a long shot I can bet to win a division, win a conference championship, win a Super Bowl, you look at these teams that lost by a touchdown in a bunch of games and just need one or two things to flip, and all of a sudden they go 12-4, 13-3, and they're right there the following year.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. They have lost one game by more than 9.5, right? That was the Rams game. All these other games have been close. Of course, the Packers, arguably the best team they've played, although they lost to New Orleans by 3. I think that's a really good comp for them, that talent level. And they beat the Bucs straight up. That's another really good comp in terms of talent level, strength of the opponent. Both those games were home games, though. That's the difference. The Packers are at home for this one. So all that said, I think it's just that's a lot of points to give. It's more likely going to fall within that 9.5. All right, let's move on to, I think, the last game. We could cover the Steelers and Ravens too, but the Eagles and Seahawks are the Monday night game, right? We've got a 4.5 point spread here. I've got the line at 5. So I'm not going to take the Eagles. No, thank you. But that would be with the lean of the model. What do you have here?
So my model has it at 7 and says you should be on Seattle. I like it the other way. It just feels like a great spot to bet the Eagles at home on Monday nights. They played this as a playoff game last year, and it was a one-possession game, and it was the game where Wentz gets a concussion and knocked out. And I'm blanking on the guy who was like 45 who came in as the backup quarterback. I think he's maybe now the backup in Houston right now. And it was competitive. And Philly, despite everything, has been kind of competitive if you remove the quarterback position from consideration for the most part. I know that seems like the dumbest, most insane thing to say, but Seattle, for the most part, has allowed other teams' quarterbacks to look pretty good against them. The defense has kind of turned a corner and gotten slightly better. I will say that. That is true. But this just feels like a good spot to be on Philadelphia. Maybe not in the contest, though, because of the fact that I think people are going to turn around and be betting Seattle, and this line is just going to keep going up outside of, I think, some professionals that may weigh in on Philadelphia. And it definitely feels so gross that I think this is the third, because they're playing each other, NFC East team I said I kind of like this weekend. So definitely cut me off. Don't let me make any more bets this weekend if I want to bet all these NFC East teams. Just feels terrible.
But all you got to do is you got to get Carson Wentz some weapons, man. That's it. That's all he needs. That's all he's missing. Oh, my God. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to lose it. So Carson Wentz is thrown for over 242 yards once this season. 242 yards once? I mean, come on. That's insane. He's thrown for over 208 yards, under 208 yards 7 times out of 10. 7 times.
So bad.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, and I'm ready to put some money on him. Let's go.
Oh man, that's the problem. It's like the model says to do it, but no way. And it's not even that much value anyway. It's an easy pass for me. I thought you were saying that you don't go against the model. You're not going to bet it if you like it and the model doesn't. So what do you think about doing it?
So part of the reason I want to do it here is that I think by the time we roll around to Monday night, this is going to be a spot where everybody in the world is going to be on Seattle. Who in their right mind is going to be on Philadelphia? There's going to be value just because this line's going to get jacked up pretty high. What did you already say? You see 5? I saw 5 and 5.5 in some spots earlier today, even after this locked at 4.5 for this contest. And more than likely, as all the parlays come in, the teasers come in, everything comes in, you're going to have all these people are going to have Seattle at a pick or +1 in teasers, and all of Vegas is going to be on Philadelphia. And I kind of want to be on that side and not the other side of it, despite everything. But Philadelphia's defense, say what you will, keeps them in games, is competitive, does a good job. They're definitely going to be tested here. But Carson Wentz, like how could, like, I understand he's bad, but like how could it be this bad? I think is really the thing I'm stuck on. That look is accurate for where I am on this one. But I know it seems weird, and I know it's kind of the opposite, but maybe it's the contrarian in me that I kind of think this is a spot where if you are especially behind in this contest and you are down, 10 games with, only a couple weeks to go, and you really want to make a come up here, if this spread goes up to 5.5 or 6, a lot of people will be on Seattle because it's only -4.5. You could turn around and take Philadelphia getting the 4.5. And if you win, you'll be able to pick up a game on the entire field and then some because of the situation. I just want to point that out. But despite all that, I kind of like Philadelphia. I understand what my model says. I know what it's saying. I also know what my instincts are saying here. So, we'll see how the weekend goes. I'm going to probably throw Philly in some teases and get them up plus, over 10, 10.5, 11 in some spots. And I'll be interested in that. But, God, I can't believe I'm backing a bad Eagles team in the NFC East again is kind of what I'm planning on doing. But here we are.
Yeah, I will correct myself here. I'm including the sack numbers because I'm looking at the team passing for Carson Wentz when I was rattling that off. So, give or take 20, 30 yards or so on all those numbers, maybe. Depends.
Oh, in that case, max bet Eagles. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Let's see. It was so surprising to me they did that bad that I had to double check to make sure it's right. It looks like it's pretty close to right, but the numbers are off a little bit. All right, let's see.
There's one game. You know what game it is. Come on.
Yeah, well, I was just you'd made a comment about being contrarian, how that could be an advantage there. And I do think the Bears are another one that would fall into that category. Nobody's betting the Bears. Come on. I can't imagine that they're going to be a popular pick. So potentially some contrarian value added there. All right, let's go to the Steelers and the Ravens. So credit to Milo here. We had a side bet on what the line would actually be. And he had that the Steelers would be bigger than 3-point favorites. I had 3 or less, and Super opened it at 3.5. A lot of the places opened it up at 3.5, despite the look ahead. I think we figured out was 2.5. So I owe you a little bit of cash there. And with the Ravens, the big story here is the COVID news, right? I know that you're upset about the game getting moved. That Claypool and Juju and a bunch of the Steelers guys have tweeted out that they're pissed. And so go ahead, either vent or give your case for why you like the Steelers here, or take a victory lap on the bet we made, whatever you want. So the floor is yours.
So, I dug into more why the players were upset. And apparently they were told they were going to have the weekend off to go home and see their families, do whatever they wanted in terms of the weekend. And some of the players were planning to do things together as a group, and they kind of had everything already planned, paid for, and set up. And now they have to cancel all those plans because they're going to be playing. So they were pretty unhappy about that, as one would be when plans are changed that quickly. Look, Pittsburgh at home in a primetime game is one of the biggest sure things that I can remember. Now that this is in the afternoon, I don't feel as good about it with everything. Having said all that, the COVID concerns for Baltimore are just insane. About 20 minutes before we hopped on here, I was just reading an undrafted free agent that was signed 3 weeks ago is going to start at center for Baltimore. Now, I don't need to tell you how good the Steelers' defensive line and pass rush has been, but that is a problem. So the Ravens are going to have not their top 2 running backs, missing key members of their offensive line due to injury or COVID, and the entire defensive line almost from the time that the Steelers last played them is basically not going to play. This sets up like a perfect Steelers smash spot. My only concern is I can't find anyone that likes the Ravens anywhere. When I can't find anybody that likes the other side of it, I start to question, does this look too good to be true, and what the situation is? And look, I'm gonna bet the Pittsburgh Steelers. I already did. I bet them earlier in the week when the line opened up at 3.5. I bet them. Shockingly, my bets have not been voided despite the game moving. So I'm more than happy to kind of stay locked in at 3.5 because I think this is going to go north. I expect the Steelers to win this. I think they're going to take control. I think Baltimore is going to seem despondent and in trouble. And I know you mentioned a couple weeks ago that the value on the Ravens is something you might want to consider. After they lose this game, the Ravens will have a better chance to make the playoffs and get a much better number on them doing damage after they lose this game. And it's something that I am looking at, despite the fact that I have a bunch of Steelers futures, as something I think is kind of interesting, I'll just say.
Yeah, that's frustrating, the results for the Ravens the last couple weeks. I told you that was the only way I felt I could lose that bet. And not only that, like, that kills the value of the those futures if you bet them, because all we can do is analyze what we have that week, and as things change and we figure out, okay, are they a good value now at these numbers? And I'm with you. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I imagine after this week, the Ravens futures are again going to look really good. You probably get them at 15 to 1, 20 to 1 to win the Super Bowl after this loss, I'm guessing. And if that's the case, that's a bet I'd be interested in. I think that they are basically at this point, you could say that the Steelers are better than the Ravens, or should be favored over the Ravens, right? I mean, that is essentially what Vegas is saying now. But it's like them and the Chiefs that you'd be worried about. I think some people may make an argument for the Saints or the Bucks and those teams, but the path is a little tougher in the AFC, of course, a lot tougher, I think. But we're just looking at teams stacked one versus the other. It's only the Steelers and the Chiefs that I'd be worried about at this point. Is that in line with what you think, or would you put maybe the Bucks ahead of them?
In terms of just the AFC, I mean, I think it lines up very well for the Ravens, and that's kind of why I wanted to mention it. Is so Baltimore loses this game. Let's say they fall to 25-1. They're 6-5. They'd be on the outside looking in for the playoffs, but for them to make up 2 games, go look at their schedule the rest of the way. It's soft enough they can definitely make up games on some of these people. And you could see them at the 7 seed, the 6 seed. I think getting to the 5 might be difficult, but they can definitely get to the 7 or the 6. Wouldn't they be favored potentially over, I don't know, the Colts in a 1-game set? Or am I wrong here? Like, if you told me that it was Baltimore at Indianapolis in a 1-game set, they just played that game a couple weeks ago, and Baltimore's defense made Phillip Rivers look stupid. So I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy here, but then all of a sudden you have them in the Final Four in the AFC, and why not? Now, they are going to have to go through Pittsburgh, and they're going to have to go through Kansas City, but at 25-1, it's not that crazy. And I'd be very curious to see what that number balloons to if they are 6-5 and they find themselves a game or 2 out of the playoffs.
I just noticed they pulled the Titans and Colts line. Do you know what that's about or not?
I do not know, because we've been recording and I kind of haven't looked at anything in a little bit. What could that possibly be?
Colts send Buckner to COVID list, so maybe some COVID concerns there.
Okay, well, there you go. That's a situation maybe then you need to be careful of, especially if you have to submit picks for the entire weekend. I know some contests, if you're going to pick a Thanksgiving game, you have to submit everything for the entire weekend. There's others that just let you just submit the Thanksgiving games. You can come back on Sunday, so be aware of your rules and whatever league you're in or contest so that you know what you're getting yourself into, and you don't want to be stuck with not having a game to pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game, I would have a small lean on Baltimore. But, man, that's not something I would be submitting in the contest. Want more information regarding all the players that are available and all that kind of stuff. Just make sure that we're all set, but not something that I would be taking in the contest. All right, so let's sum this all up. This is I think the longest pod we've done because of how many games there were, but give me your top 2, 3, 4 picks of the week.
So I know we kind of been all over the place with some of these and bouncing around. The number one I'm going to say is Pittsburgh giving 3.5. They are ready. I think part of the reason the Steelers are so upset is because they knew what was coming. They knew that they were going to go and they were going to really lay one on the Ravens. It's their rivals. They don't get along. They are not exactly people that enjoy each other's company. And I was excited to watch that game on Thanksgiving night. So instead, I'll have to wait for Sunday afternoon. So give me Pittsburgh minus the 3.5. Gonna go with my model here on a couple of these. I'm gonna take Detroit +3, and then I think I'm gonna go with you. We're gonna go with Washington +2.5. So give me, some of these. Yeah, this would have been a fantastic fun parlay to bet on Thanksgiving. Dog favorite. It would have been great. You could have enjoyed it, made some money with your family. So I'm gonna go with those three. In terms of a fourth one, I kind of hemming and hawing, but I'm going to go with Arizona. I believe that they are just better, and I'm going to step away from what I think that New England is not, and I'm going to leave Minnesota for you to potentially pick here. So those are the four I'm going to go with, and I'll let you make up your mind and take your Chargers too.
I did make the Thanksgiving underdog bet, man. You just take Detroit and Washington. While we were recording, I made it. It's 531 to win 2.4K. So it's a nice little return there. Little 5-1 on these two small underdogs that are super live. And I'll take.
Now I'm looking right now as you're doing the same. I'm gonna go check out, see what my numbers say.
Yeah. So I'll take Washington as one of my top picks, but the two that I like even more than that probably are the Niners at +7 and the Bears at +9.5. So those will be the ones that I'm eyeing quite a bit there. The Lions I'm less confident in than the Washington football team probably, but it's just like a fun Thanksgiving bet to make, right? When you parlay those two underdogs together and it makes sense. But yeah, other teams, this is a pretty decent slate where I think there's a wide pool of selections that I'd feel comfortable with. If I felt like I have to avoid this team because of this reason, because they're going to be popular or whatever, there are other teams that I could go to. I don't run into that problem with the Niners and with the Bears. And even with Washington, I haven't thought too much about who's going to be the popular side there, but I would guess it's going to be Dallas. But yeah, the Chargers are okay. The Jets are good if Darnold's in, I think. The Saints are no, I'm not going to take the Saints. Definitely not.
That's the way I felt. I was like, oh, Denver, nope, not going to do it. I'm going to stay away. Same thing, Philadelphia, I'm not going to do it. Like you said, a lot of these, if you only got to pick 5 and you have a full slate, which we do, it becomes easier just to eliminate. And then by process of elimination, you kind of whittle this down a little bit. I don't know what your process is, but that's kind of what mine is I'll start with the picking every game. I have 16, and then I'm just crossing off no confidence until I'm kind of left with a group, and then I kind of pick from there to kind of make this a little bit easier because it can be overwhelming with so many games.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, that pretty much does it. Appreciate everyone tuning in. If you, by the way, don't really say much about Number Ball on the podcast, but Black Friday sell $99.99 rest of the season content and projections. If you don't have subscription there, that's about as good of a price as you're going to get. That's going to end on Friday at midnight, just a quick Black Friday sale. That's like a third. It's like 66% off or something of what the last price we had up on the site was. So go check that out if you haven't. We'll have some content up for the Thanksgiving slate, of course, and the full main slate right after that. Good week of football, one of my favorite weeks of football of the season. Thank you, Milo, for helping me out with this podcast. Good luck to everybody. Have a good Thanksgiving. We'll catch you next time. Until then, do awesome things.